World War III is well underway, both conventional wars, as in NATO versus Russia via Ukraine, and the US playing both sides of a battle between Israel and Iran and their proxies. There is also a psychological war underway. This is the war against the First Amendment in America and the long-standing Western concept of freedom of speech in many other countries. Misinformation and disinformation are the new enemies, concepts known only in the eyes of the beholder. One man's disinformation is another man's speaking truth to power. Who is the referee? We, the people, or the administrative state? This is a multifaceted war, including all things COVID, vaccinations, election integrity, crime statistics, illegal immigration, and the Earth's climate. I want to focus on climate change, once known as global warming. Image by AI climate warriors insist the planet's climate is changing. No one will argue that. We have had ice ages burying the upper Midwest under a mile-thick sheet of ice, with the planet cooling enough to create these massive glaciers, followed by subsequent warming and melting. Palm trees and camels, now dotting the hot equatorial regions of the planet, once grew and lived in the ice-free Arctic. This was millions of years ago, long before airplanes, air conditioners, and masculine charcoal grills. Millions of years ago, there was no man to create man-made climate change. In fact, the modern form of humans appeared only 200,000 years ago. Yet the climate has been changing long before that. Perhaps the Earth's climate is a bit more complicated than the predetermined outcome climate models used today suggest. Where are the fact-checkers? Why are only a few challenging climate dogmas? Now we are treated to hottest day stories during our Indian summer. Please spare me accusations of racism for using the word Indian, which is now verboten in professional sports. Britannica and Wikipedia both describe Indian summer. The Denver Post breathlessly exclaims, "Mile-high city ties the 132-year-old high-temperature record." Big deal. A 132-year-old record in golf or baseball might be noteworthy, but the Earth is 4.5 billion years old. Does the Denver Post know if there was a warmer late September day in Denver in the 1700s? Or the 700s? Or 2700 BC? Or 27 million BC? The Denver Post said the same about September. Record-breaking heat continues after hottest September ever. Ever? The data goes back to 1872. What if 1772, 772, or 772 BC were hotter? With a 4.5 billion year time frame, 152 years hardly qualifies as ever. When describing planetary phenomena, a much longer time frame measurement is needed. In the Earth's history, 132 years is but a blink of an eye. What if we looked at a longer time frame, say 485 million years? The Washington, "Democracy Dies in Darkness" Post surprisingly did just that. Here's their headline from a few weeks ago. Scientists have captured Earth's climate over the last 485 million years. Here's the surprising place we stand now. Researchers reconstructed global mean surface temperature using data assimilation, integrating geological data with climate model simulations. They discovered that the Earth's temperature has varied more dynamically than previously thought. Screenshot Science, a 485 million year history of Earth's surface temperature, Judd et al. Like all models, it's not perfect, but it passed the peer review process at a prestigious journal, Science. We are currently experiencing a small warming blip from the coldest planetary temperature in 500 million years. Our global temperature today is low, and temperatures this cold were last observed 300 million years ago. Time perspective is important, as illustrated below. Over the last 20,000 years, temperatures have been relatively stable, and human global warming activities during this time were negligible. Screen grab YouTube. We see a slight warming trend only when the last 140 years are examined. Screen grab YouTube. Climate warriors base their entire global warming premise on a few decades of rising temperatures, ignoring the past 500 million years when temperatures fluctuated wildly, almost all of which were devoid of human-induced warming activity. Even with the tiny rise of the past few decades, temperatures are still well below those of most of the past 500 million years. Yet man, not around 300 million years ago, is causing global warming today, according to many climate scientists. In fact, according to the Washington Post story, modern humans appeared 50 million years after falling temperatures that led to the coldest period recorded. It seems that humans thrive on a cooler planet, particularly the one we have now. In addition, life on Earth has endured climates far hotter than the one people are now creating through planet-warming emissions. What about CO2? Another bogeyman hiding under the beds of eco-fanatics. The CO2 Coalition notes that over the past 140 million years, CO2 levels have fallen to dangerously low levels. Specifically, current levels are within 30 parts per million, ppm, of the line of death, the limit for plant survival. Once CO2 is below 150 ppm, plant life, and subsequently animal life, cease to exist. Screenshot CO2 Coalition. What's interesting is that CO2 levels have been steadily declining over the past 140 million years. During that same time, in the top graph above, temperatures fluctuated significantly, not correlating with CO2 levels. What about before 140 million years ago? Around 300 million years ago, CO2 levels were quite low, near the survival threshold. During that same time, the Earth experienced the Karoo Ice Age. I don't think that's coincidental. Given present CO2 levels, are we headed toward another ice age? Screenshot Nelson, et al. Scientific research. Despite CO2 levels approaching the death zone, there is a concerted effort to reduce CO2 further. This would be like giving a COPD patient already struggling to breathe and maintain adequate blood oxygen levels a respiratory depressant. From the U.S. Geological Survey, carbon dioxide is the most commonly produced greenhouse gas. Carbon sequestration is the process of capturing and storing atmospheric carbon dioxide. It is one method of reducing the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere with the goal of reducing global climate change. Not only is this a government effort, but it is also a project of globalist oligarchs like Bill Gates. He launched a company that could remove 5,000 tons of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere by year-end. He wants to save the planet and humanity by driving CO2 levels below the line of death. How would that work, exactly? Killing off life on Earth to somehow save the Earth? Here's one more Follow the Science tidbit from Nature's journal Communications Earth and Environment, which looked at surface temperatures over the past almost 200 years and found our results show limited evidence for a warming surge. In most surface temperature time series, no change in the warming rate beyond the 1970s is detected despite the breaking record temperatures observed in 2023. In other words, brief periods of warming or cooling are more likely to be caused by short-term variability due to solar or oceanic cycles than any long-term trends. The bottom line is that planet Earth is currently in a long and deep cold period that started 50 million years ago. Small upward blips in the steady decline are normal, including the one we are experiencing now. The current rise has far to go, meaning 20 degrees Celsius higher to be near planetary highs over the past half-billion years. CO2 levels correlate poorly, if at all, with global temperatures. Given that CO2 is plant food and, subsequently, animal food, and that we are currently at the lowest CO2 levels in 140 million years, efforts to further lower CO2 levels represent an existential threat to life on Earth. Yet this is the goal of the environmental smart set, along with claiming Donald Trump is the existential threat. The climate is indeed changing. It always has and always will. Temperatures are likely to rise from their current 500 million year low, regardless of what Bill Gates, John Kerry, Greta Thunberg, or any world government agency says or does. These people have the hubris to believe they can influence forces beyond their comprehension. In their attempts at regulating and tinkering with Mother Nature, they may ironically be destroying all that they are attempting to save. Unless that's part of the plan.